What's going on, guys? My name is Cody and I'm a graphic designer based out of San Diego. For those of you that have been watching my videos, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. You guys leave a lot of comments and it really kind of fuels me to keep making these videos. So I've been making videos a little bit over like a year now, and I feel like a lot of the videos and the topics have been derived from you guys. Like I've been asking questions and kind of interacting with you guys in the comments, and it's been really helpful for me to kind of formulate this sort of content that I make. And what's cool is I actually unlocked this new, I don't know if I unlocked it, but I have this ability now on my channel to interact with you guys a little bit better. So there was a poll I did recently where I asked 5 different options as far as like topics that I could make my videos about, and you guys like 61 of you voted, so that was really helpful for me. So I was able to actually get some data from you guys and just see what would be like a good topic to make my next video about. The first one being designing for voice in Adobe XD, the second one being linked symbols in Adobe XD, the third being advanced illustration in Adobe Illustrator. I haven't done a lot of illustration lately, so that's kind of why I was like getting the itch. An onboarding app flow in Adobe XD, or designing a gig poster in Adobe Illustrator. It seems like most of you gravitated towards the advanced illustration in Adobe Illustrator, which is sweet because I've been wanting to illustrate. And also a good amount of you wanted the onboarding app flow in Adobe XD. Also, we've got designing for voice in Adobe XD. So I thought to myself, what if I just combine the 3 of these topics? I can make an onboarding flow in Adobe XD. I could do some advanced illustration for, maybe in the onboarding flow, there's some illustrated elements. And then maybe I could use, a voice interaction within that onboarding flow. I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box in order to kind of like, make something cool that we all can kind of learn from. So because I am meshing like 3 different topics together, it's going to be a longer video, but I feel like if you don't have time to maybe watch the whole thing and you want to watch something specific, I timestamped everything below so you can kind of skip through. So I think you can go to like the illustration part, you can go to the designing part, you can go to the prototyping part, and you go to like the voice part. So I've tried to break it down easy for you guys so you can kind of skip around. I know everybody's different, but yeah, let's dive into Illustrator first, and then we'll go into Adobe XD after that. All right, so for this tutorial, I was thinking of making a fictitious product again. This one's gonna be a smart camera. So, you've seen those like, let me just pull this up. I've seen those like Nest cameras that people have that are pretty cool and minimal. But I think like something like this could be kind of cool to like illustrate because it's just basic shapes, and we could use that as like our main product for this tutorial. These basically kind of give you visibility on certain areas of your home. Maybe you want like some extra security. I think what a lot of these have in common is that they're just very basic and minimal shapes, like something like this is pretty cool. So I kind of want to replicate something like that, make our own version. So let's go ahead and jump into Illustrator. And I'm going to start a new document at a size of, let's see, 1080 by 1920. That just kind of is like a basic like ratio that you would see like on a lot of smartphones. So this is going to be one of our pages here. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to kind of just wireframe really quickly what I want my flow to be, just so that when we go into XD, we sort of already have an idea of, what we're going to be designing to. So this is a good way to just kind of quickly flesh out your idea, make sure that you have everything in mind before you actually start designing. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my, let's see, my brush here. I'm going to turn this fill off. And I'm going to go to like a gray color just because I'm going to kind of use this as a sketch. And so for our first screen, I'm thinking we could have a logo, some sort of branding here. So I'll just draw like a box with a little X in it. And then maybe we have, some subtext. Maybe this is like a title, and then this is like some more subtext, and then a button just to kind of get started. Like this would be like the call to action to kind of get into the experience. So imagine this is like your splash screen. And again, this is just kind of like my sloppy wireframe just to kind of get my thoughts down really quickly. You can actually sketch this. It's probably a better way to do this, but I figured we'd play around in Illustrator a little bit. So then like on the first page of the flow, I think we can introduce the product. So maybe we have like a little square guy with a little stand. This is our camera. Whatever. This is going to be our we're going to make this look better, but just kind of identifying what we want on this page. Again, a title, a little like subtext. Doesn't have to be anything crazy when you're in this part of the process. And then another button just to kind of continue. Maybe this is like a next button. I think good practice too in these onboarding flows is to give some sort of indication to the user how long they're going to be in this flow, because people get impatient, you know, people have short attention spans. So I like to put like either 3 little dots, because there's going to be like 3 pages, or I've actually been seeing these little like tracks that you can use, and it's about, you know, like a little indication, little slider bar, I guess, that could let the person know that this is a flow. You can kind of skip through it if you want, and it's not going to take that long, because basically you divide this bar up into 3, that's how many segments there would be. And then maybe a back button up here, so like if the user wants to get back to the splash screen for whatever reason they can. And I also like to give a skip button, so you never want to have an area in your app where your user can't get out of a certain screen. So having these little areas where somebody could skip through or go back are very essential as far as, you know, reducing anxiety in an experience, I think. So we have 3 options here: next, skip, and back. I think on this next page, when we click next, there could be some sort of animation that happens. So maybe on this screen, this is small, and we've got some like just shapes that kind of engulf the product a little bit. I'm thinking like kind of color blobs or something. I don't know. We'll play around with it in XD, but this is just sort of like my rough draft here. So maybe when you click next, we'll copy this over. This little guy will move over in the middle, and I'm just going to copy these again, because we're also going to have titles here. And we're going to have another next button. I probably should have just copied that, but this will be like step 2. Again, our back button, our skip. Maybe on this screen, our product gets bigger. Oops. I'm just going to copy all that, paste it here. Maybe our product gets bigger, so we can actually see a little bit more detail in it. And then maybe like the color blob, I'm thinking these are like 2 layers of like color blobs. Maybe it just grows. It kind of takes up like the whole like top portion of the screen. So like this would all be, this area around and behind the buttons would all be the same color. So like imagine this thing just grows and gets bigger. That's kind of what I'm thinking in my head. We'll kind of see how it plays out when I actually get an XD. But again, this is where you can kind of have some rough ideas, and then when you get into the software, you can kind of flesh them out a little bit more. So I also wanted to have that voice element in this onboarding flow somehow. So maybe when you click next here, we can actually start to integrate that. So I'm thinking all this could animate out, and we could have maybe like a big microphone sort of symbol that just lets the user know that they can start talking into this onboarding experience and get sort of a taste of what this camera could do. We'll put our back button. We'll put skip. Always got to give the person the ability to skip if they don't want to go through this. And so this would be our final page where you could actually say something or request a command from this product. So as you can see, it's very rough. It's very loose. This is just an exercise for you to do before you actually go into design. Now that we have our rough wireframes, I think it's time we actually illustrate our little camera product here. So I'm going to keep this all open here and just make another artboard. I'm going to go to edit artboards and just duplicate this. And I'll just get rid of all this. Alright, so I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to go ahead and click and drag holding shift so that it keeps it all proportional. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I want to round these corners here. So if I just select this little circle, you see how you have that little like noodle? Just click and drag. And I think around there looks good. And I'm going to get rid of this stroke. I don't want a stroke on my my rectangle. I do, however, want to click into this lighter color, this like gray. And I actually think I want to add, so let's build this whole thing first, and then we'll add some gradients to the actual object. But I'm going to grab another square. This will be like the stand for it. And I'm going to select both elements holding shift, and I'm going to go to my alignment tools. We're going to go to horizontal align center. There, now it's perfectly aligned. And then I'm going to duplicate this holding alt and shift, and then I'm just going to Let's kind of size this up. This is going to be like the little platform stand that this thing is supported by. Again, I'm going to align center. We're good there. And I'm going to round these guys. So it's already, it's pretty simple how we just made that, like the basic form of this. So this would be like the little like, you know, the little like stand for this camera. And then I want to grab a circle, the ellipse tool, come completely in the center, hold Alt and Shift and just drag out. And let's go to like a darker color here. I'm going to copy it, Command C, edit, paste in place, because we're going to make a smaller part. I'm going to go to a lighter color. I'm going to copy my darker one, Command C, edit, paste in place. And then I'm going to Shift, bring it down. That's looking cool. Maybe we'll do it one more time. Command C, oops, Command C, edit, paste in place. This is just showing that like it's like a zoom camera, you know, like maybe it can zoom in or something. It's kind of fun. And then I'm going to add another circle just like right here on the top. This could be our highlight. So I'm just going to go 100% white. And just kind of put it off to the side. So this is like maybe just a reflection or like a highlight of some light coming into this camera. So yeah, it's pretty simple. And then I'm going to add a gradient to this piece right here just to give it a little bit more like realism, I guess you could say. So I'm going to go to my gradient tool, window, gradient, and let's just click that. So that's a little bit harsh. What we'll do is we'll select a lighter gray here. And I might actually change the angle. So if I go here, we'll go to -90. There we go. See, it's already looking kind of cool. And I'm just going to sample the same color here. I don't like that angle there though. So I'll probably do a -90 again. Actually, no. See, I want the darker part to be underneath. So I'll do 90 degrees. There we go. And because this is underneath it, I want this gray to be a little darker. See, there's like some separation now and it looks like it's behind it. And for this guy, let's just see what we can do with that. Let's try -90 again. And I want this white to be a little darker. You always want there to be a little bit of separation between your elements. There, that's looking cool. Might make this a little bit lighter. And then maybe there's like a little sensor right here, you know, like maybe we have like 2 little dots. And maybe they're like a different color, like a teal. This could be like a little sensor, but it could also maybe be a branding element. I don't know. I always see little sensors on these cameras. We'll group these guys, object, group, and then we'll make sure it's centered, aligned. So we got a little camera. I'll group it all together. So look, it's pretty basic shapes here that we made this really quickly. You know, it doesn't need to be anything crazy. Like, I just wanted a minimal kind of form that looks like it could be a smart home camera. And I think we did that. So what we can do now is just copy this whole thing. It's grouped. And when we open up XD, we can just paste this in. So let's just go to an iPhone size, iPhone X, iPhone 10, Command V, and look at that. Just pasted it right in there. So there's our product that we made really quickly in Illustrator with just some simple gradients and basic shapes. All right, so we got our product here. We want to make this our splash screen. So let's go ahead and refer back to our Illustrator file. So splash, we've got our logo, maybe some titles, subtitle here, and then a go button or a get started button, if you will. So we need a logo up here. What should we call this? What should we call our device? Well, we got Nest, we've got Amazon Alexa, we've got Siri. I'm thinking, I like the word Dana, like the name Dana. I was driving through like Orange County and there's like Dana Point. I like that visually, it looks nice. You got two A's right there. So let's just see what that looks like real quick. Dana. And it also kind of fits in with just like Amazon Alexa, you know, Siri, like they're just short, quick names. And I think this one kind of looks fun. So let's go ahead and just size this up a little bit. Go to like 50. And what do we want for our font here? Let me just think of what I can find here. This is kind of futuristic. Just gonna space this out a little bit so it looks a little bit more premium. That's kind of cool. What happens if we go lowercase though? Ooh, even better. I think we can extract these little circles that I talked about earlier as like a branding element. So that's what's cool about XD and Illustrator is that they work really well together. So if we just grab these, Command C, I think it's just labeled group right now. We'll paste, it'll put it right on top. We're just gonna move them up here. Just gonna make them a little bit bigger. Center line. Yeah, maybe that's just like the UI on the actual product that just lets you know that it's recording or something. Like these things kind of turn on or something. I don't know. You can use your imagination, but it's kind of a cool divider as well. So maybe when we have our subtext here, like this will kind of break it up nicely. All right, so now I kind of want to have like some sort of scene here that maybe like this could sit on like a desk or a table or something. So let's go back to Illustrator really quick and let's just make a little table. I'm gonna grab my ellipse tool and just make a sort of like ellipse here. This will be like the top of our table. And then I'm just gonna duplicate this, holding Alt and Shift, and just bring it down. This will be like the bottom piece. I'm gonna grab my direct selection and delete this top anchor. And we're gonna grab our pen tool and just connect these right here. Bam. And I'll do the same thing for this one. Now, since this is like the bottom part, we're gonna need to make this a little bit darker. And let's just hold Command bracket, left bracket to push it behind. And I might make this a little bit lighter. Maybe it's like a white table, you know? This is a little dark. I'm actually gonna go a little bit lighter with this too. There. So see, it looks like a tabletop, and we'll put this on top of that. I also want to make some legs for this table, so I'm gonna grab my pen tool again, and just gonna, this is gonna be like a mid-century table. So I'm just gonna drag down this way. They've typically got these like angular kind of peg legs with that mid-century modern design. And I'm gonna make this a little darker. And Command bracket it back in space. And the reason why I'm not adding gradients on this object is just because I want it to be a little bit softer than the actual object. I want the object to have more of that detail in it. This is sort of like secondary, just sort of like a mantle for our product to sort of sit on. So I'm duplicating this now. I'm going to reflect it so I can make another one. Just kind of mirroring itself. And if I select both, I can kind of center this right here. And we want two more legs in the back. So let's just select them both, hit Alt and Shift, bring it down. So we have a copy. I'm going to hold Shift as I scale these back. And these are going to be the legs that are like further back in space, which means they also need to be a darker gray. And I'm just going to group this tabletop so that I make sure it's on top of everything. We can go to Arrange, bring to front just to make sure. And I might push these back a little bit more, creating that nice silhouette of a table. And so this is going to be sitting on top of our table. We also want maybe just like a little plant or a cactus or something. So I'm going to make a, let's grab our rectangle. I'm just going to make like a little planter right here. And around just the bottom two. So it looks like a little pot. Again, just basic shapes is how we're going to make all this stuff. And if I copy this, Command C, edit, paste in place, we'll get a copy right on top. You don't really see it happen, but it's there. I'll just show you. We'll make this a little bit darker. And I'll move two of these points down. Sort of like a two-tone pot here. So there's our little pot. Let's add some cactus. So I'm going to grab a rectangle. Just draw a block. Grab my direct selection. And let's just round these top two pieces. There's our first piece for our cactus. Gonna copy. And then let's just bring these points down. Whoops. Just select them all. I might shrink these down a little bit. So yeah, so imagine this is like a little sort of cactus plant here. I think what we need is like, we need those little like, what do you call those things? Spikes? So let's add a little stroke. Maybe 2 point. We'll go to like a darker gray. And let's just hold Alt and Shift and drag it over here. And then if we hold Command D, it'll make a few copies there. We'll select all these guys. Let's just group them. Object, group. Move it up. And then let's do the same thing. Alt and Shift down. Once you've done that, Command D. There we go. So I'm going to select all of these and just kind of maybe shrink them down a little bit. And I'm going to go 1.5 on the stroke. And let's just duplicate this group, bring it over here. And then let's just delete all the excess because we don't want this to kind of... So there's our little cactus, guys. I know I made it in grayscale, but I think I want it to actually have some color. So let's just find a nice kind of like muted brown here. Maybe we go to like some sort of tan. This is like one of those ceramic dipped pots. And then we'll find a nice green, like a muted green. Again, we don't want this to compete too much with our product. Just something that kind of like bring a little bit of color into the scenery, or the scene, I should say. We'll grab these guys. Just shift clicking these so I can select all of them. And we don't want to fill, we just want our stroke. So if I go to like the green color here, I should be able to get a darker green. That's cool. So let's copy this and let's bring it back into XD. And we can just shrink it down. We'll make sure we label it table. And we'll put our product on top. Cool. Now, I want to give this background some color, so maybe we go with like a that earth, like an earthy color here. Something around here is kind of cool. And then I'm going to make my logo white, just so it stands out. And I might make this white as well for now. And let's just come up with a tagline. Smart home camera assistant. And I don't want all this spacing. I'm just going to hit 0. Let's see how this is looking. That's kind of big. Let's go down to like 18. Here we go. Dana, smart home camera assistant. That kind of has a good little ring to it, I feel like. And let's just make this a lighter font, yeah. Or what if we say your personalized Smart home camera assistant. That sounds like it's a real thing. We're gonna go with that. And I feel like I want something, like it's still a little too simple. I want to do something up here, like maybe for the voice part of this section, there's some sort of like visual. I know I said this was going to be our branding element, and it kind of is, but what if we had like a circle around this that kind of moved like when you talked, like sort of like radio waves or something. I don't know. Let's see. In my head it makes sense, but let's see what happens. So I'm going to hold Alt and Shift with this ellipse. And let's get rid of the fill and just make this a border. Go to 100% white. And I'm just going to kind of skew this a little bit so it's not a perfect circle. Because I kind of, in my mind, I wanted those like color blobs to be a thing. I've been kind of using those a lot on like my channel and stuff. I don't know why. I'm fascinated with them right now. But let's move these down a little bit. Let's move all this down actually. Let's copy this, paste, and just rotate. And see, because it's not a perfect circle, when you rotate it, it kind of just gets off a little bit. See, this is already looking kind of cool, like as if like there's audio emitting from the logo. I'm just gonna paste it again and rotate. So I don't know, I feel like we have two branding elements here now. We have these little dots and we have these like little radio wave things. Like maybe, yeah, like these can kind of like move and pulse like as the product is talking to you or you're talking to it. I don't know. Just seems like it could be kind of cool. So I think what I'll also do is I'll just change the opacity of some of these guys. So let's go to like 40% and maybe like a 30. No, maybe like 25. There, that way there's like a little bit more of a variety in this. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I don't know. Sometimes my ideas are cool, sometimes they're not, but I think it looks fun. And then we need a call to action button down here. So I'm going to grab my rectangle. I'm just going to click and drag across. That looks good for now. And I'm going to get rid of this border. And let's just round, make it like a pill button. So we'll copy this, we'll paste, we'll bring this down, and let's put get started. And I'm just gonna pick like a darker blackish gray color. And let's select Shift and click on both of elements, and then let's center line and center line. There, now it's perfectly aligned. I'm gonna group my button. We're going to call it BTN button. Let's also click on this rectangle and just call it background. So we know that's the background of the button. I'm going to give it a soft shadow. So let's do a blur of about 25. And let's give it a y-axis of about 10. So it's basically saying on the y-axis, which is up and down, we want to push that drop shadow down, and we want the blur amount to be 25. You can actually click on this color here and adjust that as well. So you can give it more of an intense shadow or a lighter shadow, which is kind of what we want. Maybe like a 30%. Just a subtle little indication that that is elevated off the screen in a sense. And I don't think it needs to be as wide as it is, so I'm just gonna squeeze it in with a. That's the new thing about XD, is it has this responsive resize, which is really nice. So as you're sizing, see this little tooltip, as you're sizing elements, it'll keep everything intact and kind of stack and, you know, make things flow really nicely together. So your images will grow, your text will expand, and your vectors don't get skewed. So that's kind of nice. So it kind of works on buttons too. But let's move this up. And we sort of have this little scene going on. I think I want to add like a little subtle drop shadow for the table here. So let's grab our ellipse and get rid of the border. I'm going to select the same color as my background and just come down a little bit. And let's call this shadow. And And just make sure we put it underneath our, oh my gosh, I didn't name this. Let's call this table and product. And let's just bring the intensity down on this. It doesn't need to be too bright. It's basically just showing that there's a sort of like surface right here, you know? And I'll actually put the shadow inside my table product so it's all grouped together. Let's actually name these guys. Let's group them. Call them rings. Alright, so we've got our main splash page here looking good. Let's actually go back to our Illustrator file just to reference. Okay, so splash is here. First page, we want to have our product. We want a slider, a next button, some titles, some color blobs. That's why having this is helpful, so that you can kind of reference, you know, your wireframes, and you're spending more time designing and not doing too much thinking. So let's go ahead and duplicate this page. I'm holding Alt as I drag this across, or Option, I believe, for Windows. And let's just label this page 1. All right, so let's get into some auto-animate right off the bat. We might as well, right? I always like to give myself a little bit of space between these artboards because we're gonna be dragging stuff off screen. So let's go ahead, go to prototype mode up here, top left. And let's click Get Started. And see this little blue arrow right here? We're gonna drag this over to this page. So this is our first page and this is our second page. So everything that we move on this page, it'll basically auto-animate in between. I have some other videos on auto-animate that I'll link down below that I recommend you watch. I go into it in more detail. But yeah, so let's, for our trigger, when you click on Get Started, which is a tap, click is a tap for mobile, we want the action to be auto-animate, and we want it to ease out, ease in and out, and we want our duration to be about 0.9 seconds. So I want my table and my shadow to slide off screen, as well as my Get Started button. I want my product to get bigger, so I'll just shift scale this up, maybe about that size. And I want this actually to come off screen too. And maybe these rings, they sort of like rotate off screen. So I'm just gonna twist them around and maybe just go up with them. Let's go ahead and test this with the play button to see what's happening. Whoa. Play that again. So we have the camera kind of jumping off the table. The ring is going up higher. Maybe our logo gets smaller and goes up here. Let's try that. Bring this down. Just bring it up to the top middle. Let's try that again. See, that's already looking pretty sweet. All right, I actually want this this to come up. Let me reference my wires. Okay, so yeah, I need to put these elements in. So let's make our back button. I'm gonna grab a pen tool. Just gonna zoom in here. I'm gonna hit Shift to make this a straight angle. And see how I can, if I come back down here, it gives me a little indication like, hey, you're lined up. That's how awesome XD is. And I'm gonna go to white. Just go back to my direct selection tool to get out of that. Let's go to about a 3 point. And I'm going to round this cap. So there's our back button. I'm going to actually label it button back. You know what we forgot to do is add our our iPhone X frames. So let's do that. Get UI kits, Apple iOS. Got a little ahead of myself there, guys. And then let's just download the ones for Adobe XD. This is important because you need to know what your restraints are as far as where you can put things on the page. And you want your design to be accurate on a device. So it's really important. iPhone X, let's open that up. Here's the kit. Let's go ahead and zoom on into this area. And let's just grab this frame. I'm going to copy it, Command C. And let's just paste this on top. Let's do the same for this page. Cool. I like these little like tooltips that XD has been giving us lately. It's pretty helpful. So when you explore XD, make sure you take a look at these. All right. Let's go back to our layers panel and let's just put this kind of at the bottom for now. Cool. I'm actually going to lock my frames so that they're not getting in the way. All right, so we got our back button. Let's actually add that skip button that I was talking about. So let's just grab some of this text, Command C, and let's paste it over here, Command V. And let's just write skip. Get rid of this. We'll kind of put it up here. I don't think we need to make it too obvious for people, so maybe we can actually just make it a color that's, or maybe we just go like half opacity. Yeah, like 50%. Because you don't necessarily want people to skip, but you know, you got to give them that option. And let's grab this copy again and bring it over here. And let's just say something like, I've got your back against intruders and I don't know, neighborhood crime. I don't know what I'm writing here, guys, but it's supposed to be like a home security system, right? So it sort of makes sense. Let's give this a little bit more spacing and let's give it a title like hi there, I'm Dana. This is like the introduction. And I'm going to make this about a 26 maybe. Let's go to like a bold. Just kind of space this out a little nicely. Might bring this down actually. Let's make this bigger. Just kind of playing around my, let me look back at my wires real quick. Okay, so we need our slider, we need our button. All right. So let's grab our button, copy it, and paste it. And let's just change it to button next. You gotta make sure you label your buttons differently so that when you're auto animating, you don't get your layers confused. And let's just say next. And let's make our little slider. So I'm gonna grab a rectangle. And I'm just gonna drag this across. This is like our track. Let's get rid of this border. And let's round these corners. If you just type in here like 100, it should round your corners for you. And I'm gonna go, let's see, like 40%. And I'm gonna copy this and paste. Go 100%. And let's just go like about there. This will be like the first. Let's actually just test this so that we have the right width. I think it could be a little small. And I might just copy this little arrow here. Copy it, paste it. Just flip it around. And let's just make the border like a darker color. And let's just group this, call it button next. Just because it's like, I feel like when I'm using an app, it's kind of nice just to have something in the right corner here. And you don't necessarily need to know, like you know that that's next just by having the little arrow there. So let's copy that. Let's paste it on this page. We'll have it come in from the right. Let's test that. There we go. All right, so we've got these pages working. They're linked. It's looking great. We just need to make sure that this back button actually does what it's supposed to do. So let's just click this little arrow, bring it back. Let's keep this all the same. That looks good. Let's just test that one more time. Get started. Beautiful. Back. Beautiful. I'm happy with this. Now that I'm looking at this, would be kind of cool if we saw like a color change here. You know, maybe there's a few different brand colors. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the design tab. I'm going to grab my rectangle. I'm just going to make a giant rectangle that covers the whole screen. Get rid of the border. And let's pick a darker, like bluish color or something. Something that's still within the same palette. We'll call this background 1. I'm going to put it behind everything. And I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it over here. Make sure it's behind everything. And on this page, I want it to start. Just move it off screen. Just get it out of here. So it's going to slide up from the bottom and reveal itself. Let's test that real quick. Oh yeah. Now these color blobs need to be a different color now that I think about it. So let's grab those, grab our eyedropper tool, sample the same blue, maybe go a little darker, grab our other blob, maybe go a little lighter, and let's test. That's the thing about AUTO-ANIMATE. It's a lot of testing, a lot of back and forth, but it's kind of fun. You're experimenting. Look at that. Oh, you know what? Did you see how they turned back to that color? I need to make sure that they're also changed on this screen. Oh, no, not a border. Okay, now we shouldn't have that problem, so let's see. This is looking sweet. All right, on to the next page here, on to the next one. So let's grab this page, duplicate it over here, and let's call it page 2, numero dos. And let's see, what do we want to happen here? Maybe we could talk about like that it's powered by Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or something. So I'm imagining this could get smaller, come to the side. Maybe we have like a little Wi-Fi or Bluetooth logo here. And I want this text to get, oh, we actually have to make the connection here. So go to prototype, click this button, drag over here. That looks good. Let's do the same for our back button. You have to do that or else you're going to start trying to auto-animate and nothing's going to happen. You're going to be like, what is going on? So that looks good. All right, let's move this off screen. It'll slide off and new text will come in. And then this little slider will come to the middle. This button can stay because we're going to keep reusing the button. Bluetooth logo. Images. This one's cool. Let's just copy this. We'll just make one of those real quick. So I'm going to grab my pen tool. Just kind of trace this guy. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, let's go to like a 3. No, let's go to like a 9. round our caps and our corners. Shoot, maybe like a 15. There we go. Delete this image and let's just make this white. So we're basically just gonna be saying that's compatible with Bluetooth. That's kind of thick now. 10. Does this look like the Bluetooth logo? Alright. So yeah, this will basically slide into frame. We'll call this Bluetooth. We'll copy this. We'll put it on this screen. And we'll just slide it off. And it should just slide into frame now. Yeah. So now we need our text to come back in. We'll copy this text and we'll paste it here. And we'll just say Bluetooth compatible. And let's just make up some other text for this. Connect me to your favorite devices. Your favorite devices within your household. I feel like household is something parents say all the time. Alright, Bluetooth compatible. Connect me to your favorite devices within your household. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to move it off screen. Now it should slide into place. Let's just test that. Look at that. Now I think we need another color change here. So I'm going to have these I'm gonna have this blue background just get out of here. And then maybe these blobs do something. Maybe they just kind of come off screen. Yeah, they just kind of go away. Maybe a new blob comes in. Blob number 3. Blob number 3's been waiting for his day. So we'll call you blob 3. Make you bigger. And we'll just change the color, something around here. And we'll also change this color. So I'm going to copy this blue background, call it background 1, we'll call it background 2 now. We'll sample this same color. You are now background 2. And what color do we want to make this? Let's see. Maybe something like that. So let's just make sure that it's on this other page. So copy background 2, paste it on the first page. Just move it off screen like we did before. Now let's preview that. Ooh, that looks a little funky. Oh, I think I know why. We need blob number 3 on this page. He'll come in from the top. Alright, let's test that. Okay, it's looking better, but something's going on here. I think our background color is on top of stuff. Oh, here it is. Background 2. Alright, now if we try it. That's looking cool. Doesn't need to get as small. I'm gonna make them a little bit bigger. All right, so let's just see what we've got so far. I'm gonna go back to my splash, click play. All right, we got page 1 here. Page 2. We go back. So we've already got 3 pages looking pretty sweet here in this flow. So let's go ahead and duplicate page 2. We'll call it page 3. And we'll make sure we have the button that allows us to get over there and the button that makes us get back. Don't forget that part. And I think here we want our product to get off screen. We want Bluetooth to get off screen. We want this to get off screen. We want our slider to slide over. This is our final page of the flow. And we want this to slide over as well. Blob can get out of here. Blob number 3, you did your thing. Now it's time to go. And let's have this background get on out of here as well. I'm just holding a shift and up arrow just to kind of move it off screen. And maybe we go back to our original color here of this kind of olive color. And let's see, I want to bring these guys back in, these circles. Or my rings, I should say. They're going to come into play. They're going to be our like audio frame. And we need some more titles, so I'm going to copy these. I'm going to paste these here. We're going to say something. Or let's just put like example, Dana, what's the weather like in San Diego? Gonna move this around a little bit so it's centered better. And let's also put like an audio looking icon here. So let's go back to Illustrator real quick and make that. This little guy. So I'm gonna grab my rectangle, went around the corners. Gonna give this stroke about 10. I'm gonna grab a ellipse, go to the center, kind of just drag this out. Get rid of this top segment. We'll just shrink you down a little bit. Let's get our pen tool. Draw a little stand here. And a little cross piece. And let's just round these strokes. Cool. I'm gonna copy this, go back to XD, paste you in, change you to white. It's kind of big. I'm just gonna shrink it down. And let's just change our stroke a little bit, like 5. So this is where you would like talk into your app and basically like you'd be like, hey Dana, what's the weather like in San Diego? And then the action would happen and it would show you the weather. So I'm just gonna label you icon, ICN, Mike. Normally my file's a little cleaner than this, but I'm trying to go fast so you guys can see what, you know, this auto animate feature and the voice and all this illustration. But I do recommend that you kind of keep this a little tidier. You've seen in my other tutorials I've kept it a little tidier, but I'm trying to get through this. All right, so let's build the page that would happen when you actually ask a question. So I'll duplicate page 3. We'll call it page 4. And let's just set a voice trigger. So let's just grab this, go to prototype, and drag to this page. And for the trigger, we're gonna go to voice right here. The command is gonna be Dana, what's the weather like in San Diego? Basically the same question that we put there. Action, auto animate, destination page 4, perfect. And I'm just gonna find a picture of San Diego real quick. Let's go back to Unsplash. San Diego. These are some nice photos. This one will work. Coronado Bridge right there. Make a square. And we're going to paste it onto the rectangle. Grab our rectangle and our image. Go to Object, Mask with Shape. That way it kind of keeps it all tidy. And let's see here. Let's just write in a temperature. 67 degrees. I'll go to about 50 size here. Let's go like 100. Let's make it big. I don't know how to make that degrees thing. A little symbol. Degrees. I spelled degrees wrong. Here we go. We want that. I'm gonna copy that. 67 degrees. San Diego. Let's make this smaller. Current weather. Let's just make this like 26. Maybe like a regular. And maybe like 18. So I'm thinking when you ask Dana what the weather is, this can slide up. Maybe we round these corners. So I'm gonna grab my rectangle. I'm gonna go to like 50. Maybe we can shrink this down a little bit too. This could be like an overlay on top of the screen that can like slide up. Maybe we have like a little handle here too, a little grip. Give that like a 5. Let's make it white. And let's just put a background blur on it, so if there's anything behind it, it'll just blur it. We'll call this grip. And I'll just center it within this guy. Alright, so I imagine this is going to slide on top of everything, so let's just copy all of it. Let's paste it here. And let's just drag it off frame. I'm going to go to my page, click play. And I'm going to hold the space bar down while I do this because that's what activates the voice recognition in Adobe XD. So I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to say, Dana, what's the weather like in San Diego? Look at that. Oh, that is sweet. So now we have voice interaction happening within the app. And we also have just kind of traditional triggers of tapping going on here. So let's just go through the whole flow real quick. First time you download the app, you get started. Hi there, I'm Dana. I've got your back against intruders and neighborhood crime. Bluetooth compatible. Connecting to your favorite devices within your household. Say something. Dana, what's the weather like in San Diego? It's 67 degrees. Oh, that's awesome. So as you can see, XD makes it really easy to take your vectors, import it into the software very seamlessly, make an interactive prototype very quickly as well, with just basic shapes and things like that, and have the ability to interact with voice. That's pretty awesome, I think, all in one software. Hopefully this video was helpful. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If there's anything that maybe I wasn't clear about, or if you'd like me to focus more on certain topics, I definitely want to hear your feedback. It's how I get better at making these videos for you guys, and it's how I get better as a designer myself. So I think it's funny how like you guys are learning from me. I'm actually learning a lot from you. So it kind of goes both ways, and it's really I think that's why I like to do it, is because you guys motivate me, and also we help motivate each other. If you enjoyed the video, guys, please subscribe or give it a like. Maybe share it with somebody who might benefit from this content. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching. I will be back soon with more videos.